Hello everybody, welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Eastern Hemlock in northeast United States. So we're going to be talking about this tree's ecological role as a keystone species, its history, and its current outlook today. If this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into the content. First, let's talk about the range of hemlocks. Hemlocks are found in Asia and North America. In Asia, they're in China, they're in the Himalayas, they're in Korea, and they're in northern and southern Japan. In North America, they're on the west coast and the east coast. On the east coast, there's two varieties, the Carolina hemlock and the Eastern hemlock. The Carolina hemlock has a much smaller range, as you can see on screen, and it grows from 40 to 60 feet. It likes dry ledges and cliffs in the Appalachian Mountains, specifically in western North Carolina. The eastern hemlocks have a broader range, as shown on the map. They're known as the redwoods of the east. They grow up to 170 feet, and they can live up to 500 years, so very impressive. Additionally, they like to live in moist, shady groves and create a cool microclimate in the forest thanks to their thick leaves, leaf cover, and they like to live near riparian areas. And now these are transitional zones between aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, typically alongside rivers, streams, lakes, or other bodies of water. So they like to be in that area where, you're kind of on a slope going down. They also like to be facing north because I guess it's a cool microclimate. They like the cool microclimates. Alright, so they like to be near brooks, streams, even small rivers, ponds, marshes, that sort of thing. So the EPA says they're a keystone species. Why is that? So the hemlock roots hold stream banks in place, they stop erosion, they're really useful for that. They also keep water temperatures stable, cooler, and more oxygenated, which is a necessary condition for many aquatic species like brook trout. They're also an important food source for other animals, and 98 bird species use the hemlock for food and shelter, such as the saw-whet owl, the black-throated green warbler, the backburyan warbler, and the Acadian flycatcher. So there's a lot of little birds and animals that use these. They're really important species in the forest, and they create this unique microclimate that's not found in any other trees in the hardwood forest. So before we continue, let's just clear one question that I had researching this. So some of you may know, if you study classical history, that Socrates was forced to commit suicide by ingesting hemlock poison. Eastern hemlock trees are not poisonous. While I still wouldn't recommend eating hemlock leaves, they're not the same. They're not related at all to the poison hemlocks. The only reason they're called hemlocks and they share the same name is European settlers thought they smelled similar to poison hemlock, which is the weed with white flowers on screen. Now, unfortunately, eastern hemlocks are in a near-threatened status, according to the EPA, due to the Woolly Adelgid, a small aphid-like insect that sucks their sap. This aphid was introduced from southern Japan. It's likely that the aphid was introduced in 1911, specifically from Yokohama, Japan, to the Maymont estate in Richmond, Virginia. At the time, the tiger-tailed spruce and the southern Japanese hemlock were popular in gardens in America. Imported plants possibly carried the woolly algid from Japan, its natural habitat, to the eastern United States, an area with no natural predators for the algid. The algid was brought to numerous mansions in Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Long Island, and from here it was carried by birds, the wind, and small chipmunks to new trees and new infection sites. And this took a very long time. It was only noted in the 1950s, so it took 40 years just to get off the ground, and it only became a problem really like in the 1980s onwards, so this took a very long time to spread, but once it did, there was some damage. Alright, so let's get into the infection, shall we? So, like I said, there's no natural predators anywhere in the Northeast for these woolly algid. And signs of infection include brown leaves, dead branches, weakened tree crowns, and also grayish leaves. And they unfortunately can kill the trees. So, short-term trend is a decline of 30 to 50% of the population in the Northeast. So that is not good, and there's not much to do about that. But they can also sometimes just weaken the hemlocks, not necessarily kill them. It really depends on the infection, the size of the tree, how healthy it is, how moist the soil is, other factors as well. So let's jump into the treatment section of this video. Woolly Adelgid can be treated in a number of ways. One way, without any human intervention, is with a killing frost. This relieves the stress in the tree, and it's most prevalent in the northern part of the Northeast. The area is in dark purple on the map, where there's a prolonged cold spell for several weeks, and this kills the Woolly Adelgid. Not so much in the south because of the warmer temperatures there. Aside from colder temperatures killing the Woolly Adelgid, there's a number of human intervention strategies that can also save hemlock trees. So let's jump into them. The first one is a biological control, releasing the Japanese ladybird beetle into the environment in the Northeast. The Japanese ladybird beetles are a non-native HWA predator, Hemlock Woolly Adelgid predator species, found on Honshu Island, Japan. So they're imported from that environment into this environment to deal with the Japanese Woolly Adelgid. Conservation groups do this, government agencies do this, local forest service. They are relatively effective because the bugs go after the Adelgid, so that is a very good way to deal with the infection. Aside from biological controls, there's also pesticide controls. So there are insecticide treatments. For instance, you can inject directly into the tree. Sometimes they will spray the insecticide onto the roots. Sometimes they'll spray them directly onto the leaves. Sometimes they spray them onto the trunk. There's a number of different ways that they can do this, but these are mostly done by forest services, government agencies, and some states may even have laws banning the use of insecticide outside of agricultural uses or government uses. So this may be difficult, but an easy solution to fix this is horticultural oil or insecticidal soap. So this is available for all citizens to use on any hemlocks they have in their area. Basically, it sprays oil onto the Woolly Adelgid that suffocates the insects on the hemlock leaves. And it's a less dangerous solution than insecticide, but it is very, very, very effective as long as it's 100% sealed. If there's a little bit of oxygen getting in, aphid-like creatures are still going to live, so that's a problem. Alright, so that concludes our treatment section for the Woolly Adelgid infection. If you notice any signs of Woolly Adelgid in your area, please call your local forest service, your local government. They should have a web page with instructions on what to do. And contacting these organizations is very important, since if they don't know an infection exists, there's no way they can treat it properly. Follow these steps, and I hope that your hemlock population in the area you live will continue to be stable and continue to thrive, or at least survive. On the bright note, hemlock's role is not looking as threatened as other species in the past, like the American chestnut, or like the current beech tree infection, so I do expect hemlocks to always be a part of the environment, just not as big a part as they are today. Thank you for listening to this video. Let me know if you liked it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll have new videos out soon. New videos are on the way. Please let me know if you like this topic of ecology for future videos, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.